Sentimental Value is the latest film to win the Grand Prix at Cannes. It's the latest Joachim Trier film, who people likely know directed The Worst Person in the World. It follows a dysfunctional family of three, the patriarch being a film director who brings in an American actress to shoot a film in the familial home, which has housed them for generations. The film's central setting of the house is where I think the narrative is at its best. Its beautiful, colourful exterior is contrasted by the pale, white interior where many of the film's best scenes occur. It serves the symbolic role of being demonstrative of the interior depression, which is hardly noticeable when examined from the outside. That's the thematic crux of Sentimental Value. Beyond the veiled facade, as expressed through that central visual image that is the house, is a story of emotional repression amidst the already fragile connections between a father and his two daughters. The empty space in the house, the long stretches of quiet, where the film is able to breathe the most. As expected, Sentimental Value isn't a flashy film with frivolous bells and whistles. It's lean and emotionally cold, just simmering beneath the surface. And I think that the house was the key to my reading of the film. One thing I'm realizing, much to my dismay, is that there's something about Joachim Trier's films which I personally don't gel with. Now, I've only seen two, but I didn't love either, both The Worst Person in the World and this. I think that they're really good films, very controlled and precise, but they're too cold, I think. I understand full well that that is the intended purpose, especially in this film. But I don't know. There's a divide between what I want to think, based on his reception by film watchers, and my perceptions of his work when I actually watch them. These should, by all means, be my kind of flick, but there's an undercurrent of dissatisfaction when the credits roll. I do believe the ending for this film, although a nice sentiment and I see where the thematic conclusions are pieced together, resolves many of the underlying issues being dissected in the majority of the film's runtime a little too neatly. It seems a little antithetical to the approach to artistry which Trier builds upon in the first two acts, and much of the third act. The scene I'm talking about here acts like a coda, slightly separated from the rest of the film's events. I don't dislike sentimentality, but I found it to be antithetical to a sort of cynicism around great artistic figures like Stellan Skarsgård's director character, Gustav Borg, as I said, and slightly simplifies the multifaceted conflicts between the family. That's just what I thought. I can acknowledge the layers beneath that coda, but, for now, I believe it resolves rather easily for my tastes. None of my detracting points are against the film's cast, which is significantly more of an ensemble than I had been led to believe. Firstly, Renata Reinsve is great as Nora. She's able to pull off Trier's tone of naturalistic realism with subdued emotional intensity, which shouldn't be much of a surprise. I find it to be engrossing in how tapped into the moment of silence and pure facial expression which is required of her, particularly as she is one of the more fractured characters in the film, whose depression and suppression of it is almost fully centre stage. But I knew that she wasn't ostensibly the lead of the film, but I didn't know to what extent that was true. Although technically speaking she may be the lead, there are large moments in the film where the focus alternates. In the moments away from Nora is when Stellan Skarsgård and Inga Ibsdotter Lilius truly shine. There's a sense of regret and pride to Skarsgård's take on Gustav, which thus conflicts with Nora's complicated perception of a troubled father figure. But Gustav also has within him a rich internal world, which is where the film's B-story, revolving around his latest feature film, occupies. Lilius then intermediates between the two, as this emotional anchor for the both of them, as a kind of peacemaker. Where the other two actors have the bigger emotional revelations, Lilius's Agnes is the most supporting character of the central trio within the screenplay. So it goes to show how into the character Lilius is that, even with what may be the lesser of the three characters when presented on paper, she gave the performance which stuck with me most after my screening. There's a much needed comfort in her presence. All in all, I found the film to be pretty good, but didn't quite manage to connect emotionally to it as much as I wanted to. There's a moment of surrealism somewhere in there, which I found to be interesting, if only for a moment, but the conclusion felt a bit off for what was being told up until that point. I left a bit cold to Sentimental Value after how engaged I was in the first half, where the conflicts are being established, and we get the sharpest insights into the individual characters. Sentimental Value? 3.5 stars. Well, that's all. Keep on watching movies, and form your own opinions. See you in the next one.